Hi friends, we are continuing with this story, the salamander at the manger. And so today we're going to hear about the rhino who stepped into the light. The rhino and the oxpecker had been together for years. The two animals could not have been more different. The rhino had a tough leathery hide and a stubborn personality. The oxpecker had a bright red beak and insatiable curiosity. The rhino sensed disaster at every turn while the oxpecker was hopeful. The two animals worked well together. The oxpecker enjoyed riding on the rhino's back, watching the world around them and pecking bugs off the rhino's hide. The rhino carried the bird great distances as he grazed the land, searching for fresh grass. The rhino, though, was a bit of a bully. He believed he was always right about absolutely everything. Very few animals corrected him, even when they could see he was wrong. They didn't want to face his anger, as the rhino had a bad habit of charging at animals who didn't agree with him. The oxpecker had been trying for years to help the rhino understand perspectives other than his own. He wanted the rhino to develop a little compassion toward others and perhaps enjoy learning new things in life. One evening, the oxpecker looked up and saw the most beautiful star he'd ever seen. "Look," he said to the rhino, "have you ever seen anything so magnificent?" "Mysterious things in the heavens are a sure sign of the world's end," the rhino declared righteously in a way that indicated the conversation was finished. The oxpecker rolled his eyes and shook his head. He knew arguing was pointless. He sighed quietly as the rhino kept walking. Gradually, the oxpecker realized his friend was walking in the direction of the star, as if drawn unconsciously toward its light. The oxpecker smiled with surprise. He wondered if the appearance of the star might finally be the change his friend needed to begin seeing the world differently. It was not long before the pair came to a little stable where a man and woman knelt by a baby in a manger surrounded by an assortment of animals. A cow with a crooked horn and an air of precision turned her head toward the door as the oxpecker and rhino approached. Beside her, a unicorn with a golden horn turned to look at them too. The oxpecker glided smoothly from the rhino's back to the edge of the manger, curious to see the child more clearly. He smiled. The joy of a newborn child and the world flowed over him like the water of baptism. The rhino gave a loud humph at the oxpecker's obvious delight. "What nonsense," he muttered. "How can you be so delighted by a helpless child in a wretched little place? You fools are smiling, as if a miracle has happened." He stomped his foot to emphasize his point. The cow, who was no stranger to distrusting miracles, spoke to the rhino. "For too long you have believed that the world is a dreadful place without hope or new possibilities. You are so determined to be right that you haven't noticed what is new and hopeful." The rhino continued to grumble under his breath about stars and doom and the challenge of babies, but he perked his ear toward the cow. She continued, "Look at your friend who has traveled with you. Look at the star and the many who have been brought here by its light. Look at how the child laughs and the parents smile. They do not see the stable as a hopeless place." The oxpecker jumped from the manger to his friend's back, hoping his presence would help the rhino listen to the cow's perspective. As the oxpecker tilted his head, the light of the star touched his red beak and reflected onto the cow's tilted horn. The light radiated in the child's eyes and bounced off the unicorn's golden horn. Soon the rhino was encircled in what seemed to be a ring of endless light. He tried to step out of the ring, but found himself unable to escape its radiance. Slowly, he turned his head and gazed at the baby. For the first time in his life, he noticed the beauty in front of him. He lifted his eyes to look around at each animal. Each one was unique and full of life in their own way. The rhino began to feel deep appreciation and then a warmth of joy. The ring of light grew brighter and reflected off the rhino's horn so that the light encircled everyone in the stable. The cow, the oxpecker, and the unicorn all smiled at the rhino's willingness to be part of sharing the light. The bird looked his friend in the eye and the rhino returned the oxpecker's smile. Well, what a beautiful story. God bless you all.